Welcome to some of the updates from the CEDIA Designer over 2016. After I've set up my subscription and an account, I can enter the tool. I can enter the project name or reference and the dimensions to the room that I intend to design. This can be done in either millimetres or inches. Now I know the room volume, I need to specify the screen ratio and the screen width in accordance with my desired seating distance. So if you choose 178:1 or 240:1, the aspect ratios, I can either say I like sitting halfway back, 2/3 of the way back, or near the back. That's quite a personal thing, but that does allow the software to work out the seating distance in relation to the screen. I like sitting 2/3 of the way back. So I'm going to choose a 150-inch screen. Now I need to select the manufacturer of that screen, so I'm going to choose Screen Research. Now the fabric of that screen, so that is a Clearpix 4 fabric with a gain of 1. Some of these parts, like the fixed screen height placement preference, is really to aid sight lines and to meet the 15-degree viewable angle. I'm going to select my projector, manufacturer, and for this demonstration I'm going to select Barco. I'm going to select an Orion M. It is a 1080p projector. I could have selected a Loki, which is a 4K projector, but with 12,000 lumens I feared that might be a little bit too much for a screen of this size. Now what I need to do is to try and select the correct lens for that projector. So here I have the various lenses and part numbers. When I click on these and select a lens, the green cross-hatched area will show you the location that the projector would need to be mounted if that lens was used. I know I want the projector in the back of the room in its own projection housing, so this is the lens I'm going to select, an EN54. This brings in the primary and secondary multipliers and gives me a maximum and minimum distance from the screen that the projector needs to be located. In the old days, TCD only had one chair. Now, with an interacting seating configuration tool, it allows me to add multiple seats and multiple rows. We've numbered the chairs because in the next incarnation revision of TCD there will be first reflection points and some calibration reports. So the chair numbering is really looking at a future revision. I can connect those rows to give me slightly better sight lines, and I can make it slightly more compact. The plinth, if I click this extend button here, the plinth will drop forward to meet the back of the chairs in front. I can also reduce the distance from the rear chairs to the front chairs should they not be recliners. I can change everything from the seat back depths to the arm widths to the plinth riser heights. All of this will come through on the CAD drawing, so this is a really powerful tool for seating configuration. Once I'm happy with that, I can confirm the layout and proceed to the audio design. A new feature is the legacy codecs, so this will enable you to do 5.1 and 7.1 layouts. Dolby Atmos, DTSX, we're working on a white paper for CEDIA, which is a compromised white paper for multiple immersive codec layouts, and Trinov in ISE 2017 will be releasing their white paper on 32 channel loudspeaker placements. So I've been working with those over the past few weeks and months, and that will be entering the tool soon. I'm going to choose my front LCRs. I'm going to choose them from JBL, and some in-walls and some SCL4s. Some JBLs for the surrounds, in-walls and some SCL3s. Some JBL in ceilings. I think I'll use SCL3s again here. And just to prove a point that we can actually mix and match manufacturers, not that there's anything wrong with JBL subs, but some people prefer to use alternative subs from different manufacturers. Maybe you like Velodyne or something like that. So here I'm going to use BMW, some CT7s and a CT SW12. CEB22 Floyd Tool states 4 subs locations, so A, B, C and D. These are familiar JPEG images which will transpose nicely through those standards documents. But the manufacturers, various manufacturers like Wisdom and Procella perhaps have asked for their preferences, which might be 2 larger subs in the front wall or 4 subs 25% in on opposing walls. So we've added those as well. For this I'm going to put 2 in the front wall. Now I'm going to work out which processor I need. So I'm going to drop this down here, perhaps pick a Trinnov altitude 32. This is spec'd with various different channel counts, so we know that we need more than 8, so that's greyed out, so we know we need more than 8, so that's an 816. So the software is kind of guiding you through your selection process. Let's choose some amplifiers. So here we go, we'll have a Trinnov and an amplitude 8. Down here it says you have 8 but you need 15, so we know we need some more amplification channels from somewhere. So let's add another amplitude 8, and now we've got all of the channel counts that we need through the amplification assignment. This 3 dB headroom and 105 dB listening is carried forward from the last revision of TCD, so all of that stays the same for the log equation, which will run through and specify the power requirements for the amplifiers to meet 105 dB reference at each of the listening positions. For those of you that know anything about that kind of log equation, it is a fairly sizable and expensive process. Now we're into the RT60. This is a new feature within TCD, and this talks about the material and the makeup of the room itself to calculate the RT500, the reverberation time for the room itself. So here I can enter the percentage coverage or the metre squared coverage for all of these materials with various coefficient, absorption coefficient, reflection coefficient values. Here I'm going to select some 12mm plasterboard on the left hand wall and some absorption 25mm fiberglass, and then I can reduce the percentage of those accordingly and add different materials for diffusion and reflection. I'll keep adding those for the right wall and changing the percentages. In the top right hand corner, the calculated RT value currently sits at 0.795, and as I change all of these values and percentages, that will interactively change until we achieve our target value. If you hover over the little eye next to material, I've given you some tips of an RT value that perhaps you should be aiming for. So 0.32 for immersive rooms, and maybe a 0.39 for rooms with standard 5.1, 7.1 layouts. So this is a fantastic tool to allow you to predict how the makeup of the room and the structure of the room will affect the reverberation time over 6 octaves. On the rear wall we're going to add some more plasterboard, maybe some absorption, and on the floor we're going to add some carpet. And then we're going to look at the seating and whether we're going to take our calculations, which are 2/3 occupied or fully occupied or empty. It will also allow us to extract some of this into the bill of materials later, so that when we're ordering this acoustic treatment, we know how much to order. When I'm happy with that, I can click proceed. It will run off to the TCD server and build the room in 3D CAD, as well as prepare the render file for us. Now the room has been built in CAD. You can either export this, if you don't have CAD on your laptop, to a CAD viewer, a DWG viewer. In fact, I use an iPad Pro and use it on an iPad Pro and just subscribe to Autodesk. It's about £30, I think, and it gives a really good result. Now we're into the render tool, so I can add some starlights. I can change the ceiling, I can change the wall panels to blue, I can change the carpet colour to grey, and now an extra feature that we're working on over the last few weeks has been various seating configurations so that it better reflects your seating plan. So here we're just going to have 4 seats, or maybe 8 seats of those Palladios. So this is a newer feature of TCD, and it will only grow over the next few weeks, allowing a much more accurate render of the plans which have been designed. And once you're happy with all these, you may well change the screen grab to a 16:9:178 kaleidoscope screen grab, which better reflects your original design. Once you're happy with all this, you can click happy with your design, click to save the HD renders. It'll take a few seconds to render those off, which we think is better than Google SketchUp or any of those other things, and infinitely quicker, much more photographic, much more real. Takes me into my dealer hub, and now these are all the projects that I've run over the months, weeks and years, and this is my most recent one, video 1. When I export this to a PDF, it creates a 28-page document now. This is written to give directly to the client, so this is business to consumer. So this has been written talking about why the cinema is designed, what the standards are, and why those design criteria and performance objectives need to be met with certain pieces of equipment and designs. The room dimensions, the viewing distance, all of these things. Now we've expanded upon this to give you a top plan, a screen elevation view, a side elevation view, the other side, and an isometric view of the room, which is instantly printable on a PDF document, and it's a saleable document. You know, if you was going to design a room, a good, better, best, this would be a fantastic document if you were a consumer to receive. We're going to talk about the audio now, so this talks about coloration, continuous soundstage envelopment, dialogue, speech intelligibility, mean spatial variance, seat-to-seat uniformity. Now we're off. This is bringing in the loudspeakers for the front LCRs, those SCL4s that you saw me add. These are the SCL3s. These are my height channels, the Bowes & Wilkins subs that I decided to put in the front of the screen baffle wall. Here are the amplifiers from Trinov. These are the amplitude amplifiers, and this is the log calculations which show the potential output at the listening position and the power calculations and their relationship to speaker sensitivity and distance. This is the processor itself. This is the Altitude 32. Here's the user interface for the Altitude 32. So here are some screen grabs. This is the I/O. So this is all the digital inputs and outputs. This talks about every HDMI input, the weight of it, how many XLRs are available. This talks about all of the things that an engineer would need to see. This is the modal response to the room, first, second and third length modes, axial, tangential and oblique. Here's the video, so this again talks about reference to dynamic range, colour accuracy and resolution. This talks about the video. This is the screen, this is the area of the screen, the gain of the screen, the fabric of the screen, and is it acoustically translucent, the requirement to hit 30-foot Lamberts, and some of those calculations. Here are some technical details of the screen fabric. Here's an example of the screen fabric, so this is just a small sample of colour, and here is a graph which shows the above 10K attenuation of the acoustically translucent screen fabric, so you can see any of those technical details. This is the projector. Here's the Barco Orion that we entered into the data. So here's the lens, the EN54 lens. So now we know the maximum and minimum distance that projector has to be mounted to fill the screen properly. Here's a small piece of text and an image which discusses target curves and impulse response, because this is the precursor to the RT60-500 Sabine equation or Sabine equation, and this is the data that we entered. So for the front wall, the left, the right, the rear, the ceiling and the floor. And this is over 6 octaves. So this talks at 125 Hz, 250 Hz, 500 Hz, a kilohertz, 2 kHz and 4 kHz. And down in the bottom right hand side here you'll see a 0.37 RT60 calculation using those materials and that quantity of those materials. And then we're into the HD renders, which are, you know, really quite nice sales things to show your clients, you know, this is the kind of room that we expect it to look like, and that can be carried out and done fairly quickly. If we move into the DXF, we can download the CAD, open the CAD up. It's opened on another screen, so I'll just drag that through. And here's a full CAD drawing that's been built, showing the exact locations in accordance with all the standards and specifications through CB22, CB23, Dolby Atmos, Oro and DTSX's guidelines. These are the exact loudspeakers, the SCL3s, the SCL4s, 3s as the height channels and the SCL4s in the front wall, as well as the CT subs. You can change this logo for your own logo and add your own business attributes on the CAD layout. The green parallel lines that you see are the maximum and minimum distance for the projector to be mounted. So those two green parallel lines are purely projector locations using the lens throw calculator that we used earlier in the wizard. There are obviously 9 drawings available here. Every elevation, both sides, front and back, top, as well as 4 isometric plans. So they can be printed very, very quickly. You know, I mean, even if you were pretty proficient at CAD, you would find it very difficult to CAD a room like this up anywhere near as quickly as this can do it. So this is ultimately some of the new revisions in TCD. This shows you all of those additions, all of those extras. And the last thing I'd like to briefly touch on is the new manufacturers. Manufacturers are being added all the time, so keep checking back to make sure if the manufacturers that you prefer are in there, and if they're not, you can just add generic text and it will still build a loudspeaker for you as a 300 by 300 box. So if your loudspeakers aren't in the database, don't worry, they're the same as your screen as well. So you can also click on the images and drag those off into a Word document or a Word file, and you can archive jobs. You can email us for support, so if you had a problem with a job you can click on this button and that will email us for support. And largely these are some of the recent additions in TCD, and as I alluded earlier, we probably will over the coming weeks talk about first reflection points to aid with calibration, to aid with acoustic treatment, and the location of where to put the acoustic treatment, as well as you know, some other things like sight lines and projector viewing angles and things like that. That will all be coming over the next few weeks. So you know, keep checking back. It's cloud-based, so there's every update will go live, and as soon as it goes live, it's available to anybody at the same time.